Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't respond to me, Greg will have to whistle. It's not on? Sounds like it is. I don't care if you hear me, Mark. That doesn't matter. In case you don't know who I am, I was just reflecting on the photograph. And although it's been an adventure to work with Mark for 18 years. That's one way of saying it, but anyway.
And you've never seen him kiss a dude before?
Well, no, that's not the issue. I'm really glad that I have not lost my hair, because this has never happened to me. Oh, I was feeling a little left out. Sorry for myself, but it's okay, David. I'm into it. You know, you're on your way. We have, by the way, is this surprising you in any way, Mark?
A little bit.
A little bit. Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, please continue to eat and get dessert over here. We don't care really if you hear this or not. I wanted to say a few remarks here. I'm glad on the surprise part because I really wanted to hit the mark. You know. So. No groans? Oh, I'm dying here. Okay, before we get going again, which I'm trying to do here, a bit of OGC history for you. You know, billions of years ago, Earth formed, and rock hardened, and my ad lib, H2O. Came together and formed the waters. And from the primordial ooze crawled forth David Shell with a vision to enable understanding of this new geography and the fortitude to establish the OGC, which is entirely true. Not the coming out of the ooze kind of thing. Although if you ever spend time with Dave, sometimes never mind. The time passed and David decided he wanted a cartographer. Now, I don't know how many of you know that Mark was formerly educated as a cartographer. I didn't know that till later, which I was glad for because by that time I had achieved some level of respect for Mark, and it didn't matter to me. But he wanted a cartographer on staff, David did, to help make more sense of this two-dimensional world. And so Mark came forth onto OGC from NGA. And not long afterwards...
Let's be precise, it was NEMA.
Oh, NEMA, that's right, it was NEMA, yeah. Yeah. He's kind of anal that way, so I'm just... For those of you who haven't heard the story, that's a reference, but we'll talk about that later.
And I will kill you.
And not long after joining the OGC, which was then the OpenGIS Consortium, Mark discovered the joy of 3 dimensions in life, and we became the Open Geospatial Consortium. We've now added time, but we haven't come up with a word to substitute for geospatial that includes time and the 4th dimension. And David eventually saw how he might secure the future vision of OGC, his vision of OGC, and wisely, with the director's support, he appointed Mark CEO and president of the OGC. Yeah, okay, he did. And for a moment of trying to be serious, Mark, in so many ways, you exemplify, this is hard to be serious, you exemplify and personify the best that is OGC. You're passionate about not only the reality, but also the possibilities of the people and organizations who are the consortium and the greater community it serves. And you've done that with grace for 18 years. Then there's the time you spent with me, so we'll talk about that. You're also passionate about so much more. Family, people, Star Trek, country western music. Any other genres of music?
Bluegrass.
Bluegrass.
Yeah.
Other stuff that most people don't listen to. if you ever spent time with Mark, you also know that he's passionate about medicine and body parts that he's had removed or excuse me. I just can't do it. Yeah, or body parts that he's had removed or rejiggered in some way.
911, 911.
And he enthusiastically shares all these passions, which is what makes you. Oh, man. I'm not really sorry.
I know you're not.
Yes, he's passionate about something else, too, and that is a character in the U.S. movies, which you may or may not have heard of, called Frank Dribben, played by Leslie Nielsen over the years. And to hear Mark, you'd be in a conversation with Mark with other people in staff or in members who know some of these same arcane movie references, and suddenly the conversation, what happened to this conversation? And they're all doing Frank Dribben imitations. So if you want to look it up and watch some of the videos, it's Dribben, D-R-I-B-E-N. But in any event, I thought that some of those quotes were entirely appropriate. So looking back at when Mark started at OGC, Frank Dribben anticipated it, and the quote that he put out was, and I can't do it with quite the same dry humor, "You're part of a dying breed, Mark, like people who can name all 50 states." And when you became CEO and president, there was another quote that Frank Dribben, the character Frank Dribben, really hit the nail on the head, hit the mark, so to speak. "Mark, there is always risk. You take risk getting up in the morning, crossing the street, or sticking your face in a fan." And now I lose my place. The truth is, the truth is, Mark, that you are widely loved and respected in spite of yourself. And you've made a huge difference in your service to the geospatial and standard communities as CEO and president, and being the person that you are. So tonight, we're going to have you face a little truth. Now, Frank Dribben hit this one on the head, something like that. And the quote that seemed to be very apropos was, "Truth hurts. Maybe not as much as jumping on a bicycle with the seat missing, but it hurts." So, with that said, and that image still in your mind, allow me to introduce George Percival. What do you do at OGC, George? Our Chief Technical Officer and technical bon vivant, to share a few words.
Hey, Jeff. All right, thanks. Good to see you all. Good to see you, Mark, Heather. Good to see you. So I joined OGC in 2004 when just at the transition point from David to Mark, and have worked with Mark since that time, 14 years.
Far too long.
Far too long, but not really. You've been the best boss that I've ever had in all of my career. So. But you need to know a few things about Mark to work well with him. You know, Jeff kind of introduced a few of those. You have to know pop culture in terms of Frank Drebin and a few others. And you need to know music, which he and I both share interest in music. I feel, you know, the Tower of Power concert that we attended together was excellent. And I never knew of Alison Krauss, and I now listen to Alison Krauss, so that's a good thing. So, but Star Trek. Let me focus a little bit about Star Trek. So, you know, Mark's, I think, favorite show is Star Trek. And in fact, there is a video of Mark in Star Trek. He has friends in the industry out on the West Coast in the movie industry, and there was a production of Star Trek in which he participated as head Klingon or something like that. I forget exactly the character. It's a wonderful video. And to let you off the hook, we did see that at our face-to-face meeting a little while ago, and supposedly one of us still has it, but we're not going to show it tonight, Mark. We're not going to show it tonight. So maybe next year when you're not around and we're looking for a good laugh, and you know, what the heck. We need to put it on the portal, yeah. But, you know, I guess it's not a surprise that Mark, you know, likes Star Trek, and, you know, this room full of folks, I'm sure I could find some fellow Star Trek fans, because you think Star Trek is about technology. You think it's about, you know, all of the cool gadgets they envision and the like. But if that's what you think Star Trek is about, you miss the real meaning of Star Trek, right? Star Trek, in a sci-fi way, was about going out and seeing cultures and people and understanding them and trying to communicate with them. You know, Star Trek is about justice and fairness in a world we don't understand. And if I can say anything about Mark, it's how he perceives the world is in that same way. He goes out every day, I think, looking to see how he can make a friend, how he can make the world around him a better place. He's on an airplane. When people start bitching, he's the one that serves as mediator. He really, you know, understands that kind of trait, and I really admire you for that. So, come on up. We've got something here that there's a card. I'll open the card a little. I'll give that to you in a minute.
Okay.
But go ahead and open it now if you like. You notice the paper, of course.
Yeah, I don't want to mess with this paper.
You can imagine, you know, I decorated it so fine, right?
You're the man.
You know,
You're the man. Thank you so
which is a
much.
big lie. You know, it's Nancy that decorated it. So, you know, as I say, Mark understands Star Trek. His first job in OGC was as the head of the communications program, right? So key thing with respect to Star Trek was being able to communicate back to the ship. And so what we have here in this is something related to
Okay.
that. So that's why you got to open it. Ooh. So, you know, beam me up, Scotty. There's no signs of intelligence life in this room.
My own classic communicator. Now,
And it's signed.
it's signed. Holy cow. Bill Shatner.
Well, Shatner signed communicator, so there we go.
I met Bill Shatner last year at the GeoInt conference, and this guy was pretty incredible. We were in the pre-brief, and he's sitting around the table with Jeff Harris, formerly out of the Defense and Intelligence community, and all these folks in the Defense Intel community. And he would say, yeah, just last week I was working with my horses and I won an award. And Jeff Harris goes, yeah, we know. He goes, how'd you know that? He goes, we're from the Intel community. and every time he would say something, Jeff goes, yeah, you were there last week. He goes, how'd you know that? We're in the Intel community.
This is not the time to tell stories. We've got more to go.
I know. Shatner understood our trade. That's what I liked.
Okay,
He understood our trade, and he understood how important geography was, how important standards were. He got that. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay,
All
there you go.
Peace, tranquility.
Thank you, George. Not so much, Mark. You'll have your chance. maybe. I'd like to next introduce a director of the OGC, Chris Tucker, but you can wait just a moment. Chris has a colored history as an individual. What can I say? Director of OGC Board. But one of my more memorable events that's something I can share with the crowd was at the 20th anniversary party in Geneva, Switzerland. And I think it was you and Steve Lang.
That's Crystal City.
It's Crystal City. I'm sorry, it's Crystal City. Put on a wonderful dog and pony show. But one of the things I took away from that was the introduction, without any consensus whatsoever, of a new OGC standard that Chris conceived and developed. It's called OWG1, Old White Guy 1.0. So, that was when Mark really started thinking about retiring. But anyway, that aside, let me introduce Chris. He'd like to say a few words to a presentation on behalf of the Board of Directors to Mark. And here it is right here. And I'll just, it's right there when you need it.
So I'm awaiting Mr. Beeler. You just want me to start? All right. Dear Mark, in recognition of your leadership, commitment, passion, and dedication to the advancement of interoperability and open OGC standards, the OGC Board of Directors is honored to present you with a special edition of the Kenneth Dgardels Award. From the moment you joined the consortium in November 2000 as Director of Marketing and Public Sector Programs, you have been integral to its expansion, building personal relationships around the world, and tirelessly traveling across the globe to plant seeds and nurture them to fruition. As an aside, I've never seen anyone in my life travel as much as this man. And he does it on behalf of geospatial interoperability standards. Just put that in context. You have helped build common ground between governments and citizens on every continent, defining what the future of global spatial data infrastructure would be for each nation. With your leadership as president beginning in 2004 and additionally taking on the role of CEO in 2008, the consortium has grown and become established as the world's leading organization for open geospatial standards and innovation. OGC's process and innovation program have since repeatedly enabled the rapid transformation of ideas into implementations. Your achievement in and for OGC are so numerous that they could fill a book. Time and location, when aligned, shared, and acted upon, improves and saves lives. Your evangelizing of this concept, plus your understanding of geospatial technology and location as a mission enabler, has not only resulted in impressive operational improvements across a variety of diverse domains, but also created new connections between disconnected domains and opened new markets to the value of geospatial information. Mark, you are a true global citizen, embracing different cultures and practices that form the soul of the OGC mission. To enable communication and interoperability between different platforms, professions, domains, and cultures. You have successfully steered a team of globally distributed people with opinions as diverse as their hometowns to collectively pursue the goals of the OGC. In all this work, you've demonstrated the integrity, humility, and dedication in promoting spatial technologies to address the needs of humanity that characterize Kenneth Dgardels' career and life. We thank you for believing in and building the amazing OGC that we all enjoy today, and for enabling a global team of members and staff to innovatively drive geospatial data sharing for all. You've dedicated countless hours of your life to OGC. You've illustrated the personal excellence and social commitment that represent the highest values of the OGC and the intent of this award. We thank you for your dedication and sharing of your expertise, including your encyclopedic knowledge of the music artists. You exemplify the ideals to which we as a community aspire. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Open Geospatial Consortium, and with the unanimous support of the Dgardels Award Committee, it is with the greatest personal pleasure that I present you with this special edition of Kenneth D. Dgardels Award. From the OGC Board of Directors, please come up and accept this award. And then the actual award.
That's
There you
beautiful.
go. Where's your camera?
Yeah.
Where should we look?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Nobody wants my name tag in this.
Smiling nicely, guys.
You want a kiss on the forehead, Chris?
Excellent. And now some words from our awardee.
Well, thank you so much to the board for this wonderful award. I never thought I'd be on the receiving end of this thing, so to all the previous Dgardels Award winners, I'm honored to be even considered in the mix. And if I could just, are there any Dgardels winners here? Please stand. Please stand. Yeah. I think it was David and Ken and a number of others who conceived this whole process way back when, and I'm just happy to have been a part of it. I want to thank the members for everything that they've done to bring this consortium forward and to create the innovation that we see today. I want to thank our staff who have put up with me for all this time and done a wonderful job in facilitating and steering the process. And I want to thank the board for not throwing me under the bus too often. You've been, I think, excellent in the way you've helped lead the organization, both fiscally and strategically, and also helping me in executing the mission of the consortium. And I want to thank all of you for that. I'm really somewhat without words. Yes, I knew that would please you, Jeff. But if I could go back to Star Trek for just a minute. No, I won't. Truly, this is a wonderful honor. I'm going to cherish it forever. Thank you for finding a way to bring my wife here. That was a big surprise. And I'm really looking forward to continuing working with the consortium in a new role. And I'm looking forward to bringing in new leadership here, hopefully in the next few weeks, to begin a new era with OGC, taking this process forward. And I'll be doing my best to help promote the OGC as long as I can. And thank you so much, all of you. Thank you.
Okay, Mark, sit down. Okay, sit down. It's not over yet. Now, how are you doing on surprises so far? You still okay with surprises? Or getting better with them? Okay, great. Mark mentioned staff, and interestingly enough, there are currently 25 employees of the OGC worldwide. Of those 25, 19 have come aboard since Mark joined the OGC in late 2000. Many of them came aboard under his signature, and you will be leaving a grand legacy in terms of the quality and dedication of those people as you assume your new responsibilities. Believe it or not, Mark's going to be working 20 hours a week, part-time. Now, how many know Mark Reichardt? Okay, I want a thumbs up on yes, he'll only work 20 hours a week. Good, good. Now, thumbs down on he'll only work 20 hours a week. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so you have your marching orders, Mark. I'd like to now introduce Jerry Light, Senior GeoInt Authority of GeoInt and IT Standards at NGA, to make a presentation.
Thank you. You are right. I am Director Kadel Azam is sorry tonight. He apologizes he's unable to be here. He told me it was an official work function, so not a birthday party. Mark Reichardt has been at the forefront of innovation in the geospatial world for the better part of 40 years. Before his time leading the OGC, he led efforts across the U.S. government, particularly with the FGDC and DMA NEMA, my alma mater, before NGA, the precursor. Even in those times, he was making his mark wherever he went, spurring innovation while leading programs such as the DoD Geospatial Information Integrated Project Team. That's the good one. And I don't know if you remember the big idea.
Absolutely.
The big idea. A NEMA initiative working collaboratively across the U.S. DoD, including the DIA organization, where he formed a relationship with, I believe, your last supervisor within the government, Director Cardillo, Robert Cardillo at the time, on major modernization efforts. Out of those efforts came the first OGC testbed, which spawned one of the most ubiquitous standards we have today, the originator of WMS. That was inevitably the late 1990s, just before you joined OGC. Shortly after, the world changed. 2001, September 11th. And so did the drive for interoperability across what would become the GeoInt spectrum. Sensor web enablement was born out of another one of the first formal test beds after New York City, shortly after 9/11, culminated a request to help integrate imagery, planimetric, and orthophotos with real-time sensor webs. A focus on emergency and critical infrastructure protection. I have all this stuff because we've been part of OGC, the precursor organization, since the 90s. So I was able to find all this contract stuff back to that point. So talk about old data. Mark had just transitioned to the OGC the year earlier, OpenGIS Consortium at the time, as the Director of Marketing and Public Sector Programs, officially, again stepping right into a leadership role in innovation across the geospatial community. When Mark was appointed CEO of the OGC in 2008, OGC consisted of just over 330 members. Organizations from around the world. OWS 5 was in full swing. Major technological advances and initiatives included agile geography, geoprocessing workflow, georeferenceable imagery, and, where's Luis? Web Services Core Compliance Standard Testing. As the years advanced, so did OGC under its CEO, Mr. Reichardt. And so did the OGC and U.S. government relationship. 2011 saw OGC's membership balloon to over 420 members, a significant increase in such a short amount of time, including several U.S. government members, a variety of which are now represented multitudes of times. NGA, whose predecessor had been in the early 90s NEMA and DMA, of which you were employee, had the privilege of hosting him as a keynote speaker in an NGA Standards Summit and Exposition, fostering the use of OGC standards across the GeoInt spectrum. I don't know if you remember that. His leadership saw OGC grow into a major player in the interoperability of GeoInt across the U.S. DoD and defense organizations the world over. He led the OGC to become associate advisory members of the NSG's GeoInt Standards Working Group, NATO, the Defense Geospatial Information Working Group, and a multitude of others, which were still, OGC is still a valued member, and advice from those from OGC to those organizations is still taken to this day and highly valued. He led the expansion of OWS testbeds, meeting challenges of the day, from new standards and efforts such as KML and semantic mediation in 2011, to smart cities and geopackage in 2015, all the way to today, where OWS 15 is about to kick off, concentrating on next generation services, web tiling, and a host of other cloud-based efforts. As of last Friday, OGC's website is placing the number of member organizations at 523, just shy of 40% of an increase in the 10 years you've been at the helm, including a multitude of U.S. government organizations and a number of international organizations. OGC's influence has continued to grow in both industry best practices, interoperability standards, across both U.S. DoD and international defense GEOINT spectrum, and across major initiatives and programs of the agency with which he once called home. And you will always have home there, by the way. You're welcome to come back. So Mark, on behalf of Director Cardillo, on behalf of the organization which he leads and the community with which he serves, I'd like to present to you the NGA Medallion for Excellence.
Wow. Oh.
Simon would,
Why would you actually try to take a picture?
Simon would
hide
have
the
my
tie.
head if I didn't take a nice picture. Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Well, Jerry, thanks. This was, again, unexpected and wonderful. NGA was, DMA NEMA was a big home to me. I remember when David Schell approached me back in 1999. It took 2, 3, 4 months for me to even think about leaving the government. I was dug in and quite happy. And I remember coming home to Heather every day saying, gee, should I do this? Should I do this? And finally I agreed because I knew that the mission was bigger and I could actually have a bigger impact on government in general around the world and industry. Thank you. Thank you and Kurt. And thanks to NGA and to Robert for this wonderful award. Thank you.
How we doing, Mark? Last but not least, I would like to introduce, well, I don't need to introduce, everyone knows, Stan Tillman, a representative from Hexagon, and will offer up a member perspective. So, Stan, and then bring it back to me.
Hey Stan, let me know when to start.
Okay. Mark, I apologize. Everybody else came with awards. I mean, I just thought my beautiful speech would be enough for you tonight. So hopefully we'll do that. But
You start off with Rocky.
it's been mentioned. I'll put it that way. First of all, I am honored to be able to get up here and speak on behalf of the membership and stuff for you. I mean, you don't know what you've meant to this organization, and hopefully what I'm about to say will start to show you some of that. But, over the years, we've all had a chance to meet Mark and be with him, both inside of OGC as well as outside of OGC. And several of us have, even maybe met in Nashville, but with some of that country music and bluegrass that Jeff, some of us do listen to. Okay. But since I'm representing the membership, one of the things I wanted to do was I didn't get a chance to talk to everybody because this was kind of a little bit of a secret, and I knew if I asked everybody, it would eventually get out. But I did ask a few people, what are their memories and thoughts about Mark Reichardt? Now, you're going to see that these fall into two main categories. And so I started to call this the two faces of Mark Reichardt, but then I thought that didn't come across just right. So I've decided that, maybe we will refer to this as the with a tie and without the tie, so that we can stay in character with Mark here. But I just wanted to tell you some of the things that some people have said. And we'll start with the without a tie. I mean, it's already been mentioned, this guy can discuss any movie or any album out there. I mean, that's a given at this point. I mean, if you've never had a discussion with that, please come talk to him so it takes some of us off the, I asked one person, and they said, the first thing they said was, Martin, never forget your name or your story. And, that was a biggie because, he said, introduced myself at a dinner, and he's remembered me ever since. And, that's a big thing. As you can see probably from some of the, I don't know which one, yeah, this one in particular, Mark is a photo bomber if you've ever met one. I mean, I was trying to quickly put some pictures together, but yes, he definitely will jump into any picture, when you're not expecting him. So and then another one that was brought up was just your genuine concern for every member. And I know by talking with some people here, some of the things you've done for the members, even outside of OGC, just what you've meant to each and every person here that knows you is a huge thing to them, and they're not forgetting that. Now let's move to Mark with a tie. First of all, he is very professional. I mean, as far as representing this organization at events and things of that sort. And if you've been around him during that part, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's always been very good at listening to the membership. That's something else that was brought up. He's there and willing to listen to what we need. Another one that I thought was really interesting was someone said Mark is a fine example, not just to OGC, but to his family and to everyone around. So that was another big one. And then this one was the one I thought was, it was just... I told y'all not to talk so long. Okay. Now, the one I thought was really impressive that kind of covered two or three, and I will say that these are not things that just came from one person. Several people would say these things, and I would kind of merge them together. But one was just the idea of Mark is one that will always worry. I mean, if you've ever seen him, he is a worrier. But I don't mean that in a bad way. Mark was one that worried to the point of caring about this organization. And I think that is one of the things that has made him perfect for this role. And I think that, if we look at all these things, the idea of Mark being able to relate to the membership the way he has, as well as his professional side and the way he's able to advance this organization. I mean, Mark, I think you have been the perfect role model for all presidents going forward, and really do appreciate that.
I'm glad you're not bald, Stan. Well, how'd we do with the surprises, Mark?
You did really well.
Okay. Before I conclude, I'd just like to give a shout out to the people who helped me and who contributed to make this happen. On staff was Scott Simmons, Denise McKenzie, Greg Beeler, George, Percival, all of the presenters. The OGC Board of Directors and their collusion, the Dgardels Awards Committee, and Heather and David both in sequestering. I mean, Heather contributed entirely to sequestering herself until we could surprise Mark with her appearance. And I think George did a magnificent job as the escort. Okay. Last reflections from yours truly. Thank God everyone says. No, I'm sorry. I'd like to share some words from Sanjay Kumar, who shared with me the following. He is a wonderful human being who has nurtured relationships based on mutual respect and admiration to an extent that he became synonymous with OGC, especially in the developing world. While Mark effectively delegated decision-making in OGC's internal functioning, empowering and strengthening institutional character and capabilities, he successfully steered convergence of people having different opinions toward pursuing the collective goals of OGC. So thank you for that, Sanjay. Not only have you served us well as CEO and president, but you've also given the board of directors and the organization the gift, the opportunity for a thoughtful and organized transition to the next phase of OGC, to the next leadership of OGC. And I think it would be appropriate that I thank on behalf of the board and the staff and the consortium that you gave us that opportunity. You have become a good friend, despite all the things you've done. Yeah, okay.
I get it.
And, yeah. And I think I speak for all staff that we relish the opportunity to continue to work with you in your new role of strategic opportunity development in the areas of membership and the advancement of key OGC programs and initiatives. It's been great working with you, and I look forward to continuing our relationship both inside and outside of OGC. So, thank you, Mark. Just an admitted, oops, that's not working, so why am I talking to it?
The buses are in 15 minutes, so you guys can just relax and enjoy yourself until then.